Howdy, folks. Kevin here. I really didn't want to talk about this, but I guess we're going to have to. Today we're going to talk tariffs. Tariffs. And we're going to talk tariffs over a Deadwood Tobacco Fat Bottom Betty. This is one of my favorite cigars. I like the Leather Roses better. But these are good cigars. I like them a lot. Right there, a cigar aficionado just turned over in his grave because I bit the end off instead of using a cigar cutter or a plug cutter. But just gonna have to get used to it. That's what I do here. If I can dig my lighter out, we'll be all right. There's two more aficionado strikes. I didn't toast the foot, and I didn't light off a match. Sorry. And we're going to do some of this Starlight Distillery Peach Whiskey. As you know, I'm not a big fan of flavored whiskeys. The fruit stuff is better than most of them. And that's what I generally go to if I'm going to go for a flavored whiskey. All right, let's talk tariffs. Because everybody's in a panic over tariffs. And let me tell you why you're in a panic. Is because you're not worried about all of the outgoing tariffs that other companies charge to our imported goods to their countries. You're just worried about what it might do to your bottom line and your shopping, which I understand all of that. But there's some things you don't know. Up until recently, I think it's going to get canceled soon, or it just got canceled, one or the other. There's something called the minimus. And basically that's the price range where things fall where they don't come into a country under customs and duties and things like that. In the U.S., it's $800, or it was $800 if they didn't cancel it already. They were talking about canceling it. I don't know why. But it's one of those things where it didn't cost over the threshold, so customs and duties and tariffs and all that stuff didn't apply. That's getting canceled, or it just was canceled. One or the other. I don't know. I didn't look into it that deep. Now, a lot of countries are a lot lower. The UK, I think it's 135 pounds is the minimum, which is about, what, $400, something like that. But anyway, so a lot of those goods that were avoiding customs and duties and tariffs and so on and so forth, they weren't getting paid earlier. So now there are more goods that fall under those customs things. And then there are tariffs, which is basically an import tax. And it goes both ways, just so you know. Our goods shipped to other countries get tariffs on those. And in many cases, it's a lot higher than the tariffs we're talking about nowadays. That still doesn't let you, or it still doesn't alleviate the fact that the tariffs are going to be there. But the problem is a lot of those retailers and folks out there who are getting goods from China. China's the big hot button right now. They're not the only ones getting tariffs put on, but they're the big hot button right now, which should let you know what the volume of manufactured goods coming from China into the U.S. is. If it wasn't a really high volume, a lot. Almost everything you own either came from China or has components in it that came from China. So, yeah, that's gonna be a problem. But is it gonna be a real problem? A lot of retailers and folks are already raising their prices, and they haven't even paid those tariffs yet. Because the goods that were already on the water before May 1st, they didn't fall under the new tariffs. So if it was already on the water coming here before the tariffs hit, then it's under the old rules. a lot of companies, to avoid paying those tariffs, after this, their goods are going into what's called a bonded warehouse. And basically that's a storage facilities, and they don't have to pay any tariffs or anything until they take those goods out of those warehouses. Yeah, they're going to have to pay to store them. They're going to have to pay to store them. But here's a good example for you. I was watching a little special online, and it basically followed a good through the chain from manufacturer to buying it at Chinese wholesale prices and getting it to retail in the States. This was a $4 item. It was manufactured in the U.S. or manufactured in China, bought by a U.S. company. All right, I'm not going to say who, but basically this item was $4. $4. That's what they paid for it. Right now, it's got like 20% tariff on it. All right. So what happens is they buy that good for $4, and they have a whole bunch of them loaded into a container. They pay to have that container shipped from China to a U.S. port, which at last time I looked, it was about between $8,000 and $15,000 to get an entire container shipped. So I don't know. It's basically cube. You see people talking about high cube containers and low cube containers and all those kind of things. And it's basically the cubic space inside that container. That's what they pay to have shipped, no matter how full it is. So a lot of companies go in and ship half and half with other companies, and or they order enough stuff where they can fill up a container, so they're not wasting space in those containers, which is fine. But this item, like I said, costs $4 to be purchased from a Chinese company. This item goes in containers, like I said, gets shipped over to the U.S. You got about another $8,000, and this was a fairly small item, so I don't know how many thousands of these you could put in a container, but it's a lot. The item was about 12 by 12, 14 by 14, something like that. So if it's packaged in a square box, a lot of those could get stacked in with not very much wasted space. And like I said, foot by foot, foot and a half by foot and a half, something like that after packaging. So you could get a couple of thousand easy in this container. So now we got shipping costs on top of that, which raises these things to maybe about $6 a piece. All right, after they've been manufactured, purchased, and shipped in a container. So what happens next is they get to the U.S. and they've got a tariff, an import tariff, which is a tax. We can call it anything we want to, but it's a tax. All right, and let's add another 20%. So now that item costs what? $7.20. All right. Now this thing gets shipped to retail operations because this was a retail sale item. What happens is they go to a warehouse and then they get shipped out to retailers. And you got that little bit of that cost of getting them from a shipping port to a warehouse to a retailer. So let's add another $2. So let's say we're now up to $9.20, under $10. The retail cost on this item, because tons and tons and tons and tons of retailers really think they need to make 1,000% profit on things. Now, this item, the retail on it ranged from $100 to $159 for this item. All right. Now, of course, you've got folks working in the warehouse, and you got to pay them. You got to do all that kind of stuff. But still, we're looking at a large markup. But this is a large company, and a lot of people are dumb enough to pay for the name. So they're manufactured in exactly the same plant as a whole bunch of budget items. Come off the same assembly line, just they get stamped with different names. That's really about it. So you've got a $4 item that retails for up to $159. That's after all the taxes and all that other stuff gets added in. So making a good amount of profit. Now, most smaller retailers and smaller retail items, they make about 200 to 300% markup on their items. So if they've got a $4 item that they're getting from overseas, it retails for about $30 or $40, maybe $50. All right, but still, I just think maybe we're marking stuff up way too far. But Then again, if they weren't marketing stuff up that far, they couldn't afford to pay folks what they pay them. So, it's a conundrum. It's a never-ending, painful, painful story. And like Forrest Gump says, that's all I'm going to say about that. So, you've seen me do the Starlight Peach before. I'd do it again. It's not my favorite flavored whiskey. I don't have a really favorite flavored whiskey. I probably won't buy another bottle of that. But it's okay. It's fine. And these things, you've seen me do them many times before. So you know I would do them again. Of course, this one's been laying here on my bench for quite a while, so it's not packed nearly as tight as it should be anymore. If you like this video and want to see more like it, this is stuff I'm supposed to say if I'm on YouTube, by the way. If you like this video and would like to see more like it, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell and do all that stuff. And share it with your friends. Share it with your friends. I said a couple weeks ago I'd really like to get up to about 8,000 subscribers. And we went the wrong way. We actually went down about 4 subscribers. So I guess some people don't like what I got to say. To those folks, there are a few 100 million YouTube channels. You don't have to watch me. Have a nice day and see you all in the woods.